why also do people not reach out for help? Sometimes it, like you said, there's pride, there are all those things, but it's also fear sometimes, because people will come in and they don't want to help you. They want to take over for you. And I had that happen to me many times, and that's not supportive.
Hey everyone, what a beautiful Thursday it is. I am here with Honey and we decided to speak to Heather, the mommy mentor. Now, Heather is, in my opinion, and since I've met her, I just said to myself, wow, this woman has done so much for so many people and continuously serves with compassion, with integrity. She is such a beautiful soul that I really had to have her here. As all of you know, I have decided to create this YouTube channel because I wanted women to feel empowered, especially women over 40. Most of us that have children, have parents, have full-time jobs, are juggling so many things in our day-to-day lives. And I would love all of my episodes to really be a true, real, authentic empowerment for all of you out there. I want you to look at all of these interviews and go, wow, I just needed to hear this today. I feel so empowered. And I know that a lot of people are going through struggles and it's not all pink and beautiful all day long. So without further ado, Heather, the mommy mentor, has inspired me. I met her at an event here, local event here in Cary, North Carolina. And I decided to invite her so she can inspire you as well. Welcome to Elevate with Yoana. I am very honored that you are here, and I would love for you to just tell us who you are and what is it that you do.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, by the way. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited about what you're doing for women.
Thank you.
I am a postpartum doula, home organizer, home manager, family support specialist, and family mentor. I essentially started doing what I do 37 years ago when I had my firstborn. After my first son, I subsequently had 8 children, including my babies who are twins. And I raised and homeschooled essentially all of them by myself. And the only help I really had during that time was from the children, which was really unfair to the children. And so in 2009, I saw this opportunity to become a postpartum doula, and I went to training for that, and I learned that the definition of doula in Greek is servant. So after that training, I went and I started serving families. A lot of the women have a history of some sort of mental illness, whether it's depression or ADHD or even bipolar. They tend to have a lack of support nearby. Maybe their mother has died, or their family lives far, or they're not connected with family or even a church. And that's when we're called in to serve and care for the moms, mother the new mother, teach bottle feeding, breastfeeding, infant care, home care, family care. And when I began working in this role, because of my years of experience as a mother of 8 children who homeschooled, and I managed a lot through the years, I was a principal of a school. All my children got an amazing education. They did, some had great scholarships to great universities. And through that experience, when I would get into a home, people would not want me to leave. They would want me to stay on for a year, 2 years, 3 years, because doula is birth to 6 months. So I would end up just managing the whole home, the whole family, maybe even paying their bills, doing their mail, organizing the home, doing all the laundry, managing their nannies and their maintenance people and their lawn care, whatever. And people would always say, gosh, you're so good at this, you should start a business. So during COVID in 2020, I think it was, I was invited and accepted to this entrepreneurial course through the Cary Chamber of Commerce, Wake Tech, and Dorcas Ministries. And I got a scholarship to that entrepreneurial course of 10 weeks. And after 10 weeks, I had a 26-page business plan. I then won a grant through Dorcas Ministries to start the business. I was one out of 5 people who won that grant. And then I won free graphic design through Wake Tech. I was one out of 5 people who won that through the graduate students. And since then, I hire amazing women who want to support and encourage and uplift families in any way possible, whether it's helping parents get out for date night or coming along a mom's side, coming into the home and just helping her in the home, encouraging her, teaching her how to be a mom, or just speaking into people's lives. All the women I have who work for me are compassionate and loving and giving and huge servants. We would all do what we do for free if we did not need an income. So I just have an amazing group of ladies who we serve, amazing families who are faithful to us, who need us. We sometimes I'm in the home and mom wants to get out for the day. So I take care of everything, the laundry, the dishes, the meals, the children, whatever it is they need. I could teach piano, I could tutor. We just want to support families so that they will thrive. I don't want anyone to ever feel alone like I did when I was raising my children.
Wow. Wow. So do you mind me going into the vulnerable side of why did you have to raise the children alone, if you don't mind sharing? Did you have the children with the same father?
Yes. I was married for 13 years and it was a very difficult marriage. My ex-husband had struggles. He was abusive toward us and unfaithful, to be honest. And after 13 years of marriage, I spoke with the pastor and told him my story, talked to him for 3 hours, and the pastor said, enough is enough. You are long suffering and you've suffered long enough. So I divorced and then I was raising them alone essentially because he went far away for work. So my ex-husband did.
One thing that is a big aha for me, and the reason why I'm doing this, is exactly what you said. This enough is enough, and having the power to actually take action. As I see and I meet and I interview women that are in that fear mode, and it is so overwhelming. They don't really know which way to go. They don't have the courage to move on and to hear. I mean, to be very honest, I have 2 children. I have a husband. I have no family here. I have support. Everybody's either in England or in Romania. But life is very difficult in this country. It is very competitive. When you don't have someone like you and the women that work with you, and up to the moment I met you, I didn't know that I know about doulas, but I didn't even realize that there are women that do what you do, as in, here, I'm a mom, I can just leave. I had it rough. I didn't sleep for months with both of my children. I didn't have depression. I was breastfeeding, but my milk wouldn't come in fast. It was very, very hard. So for me to imagine that you had 8 children, I can't even picture, how did you handle yourself? Did you get any sleep? Were you able to work? How did you sustain yourself, your family, your mortgage, your rent, your finances? I know that it was, like you said, so I think what I'm trying to determine is what period were you a principal in throughout your motherhood? So you were a mom. Were you, after your firstborn, were you a teacher at that point, or like did you work throughout the whole raising the children? And why did you homeschool?
Why did I homeschool? I was breastfeeding my firstborn, and I don't know if anybody on here would remember this, but there was a show called Phil Donahue, and I was watching Phil Donahue. It was very similar to Oprah back then, and there was a family on there. There were 3 grown boys and 2 parents, and both parents, I believe, were possibly professors at UMass Dartmouth, not certain, something to that nature. And they decided to sell their home in Boston, Mass, and go out into somewhere, New Hampshire, Maine, into the woods and build a home. And they took their children with them, of course, and their children began helping them build this home. And they gave them books to read, and they gave them educational materials, and they allowed their children to study whatever they were interested in. And they learned the Pythagorean theorem from building the home. And they ended up homeschooling their children out in like the woods. They had interaction with people, but their home was like they built it out in nature somewhere, and they gave them like real life experiences. All 3 of them had full scholarships to Harvard from this homeschooling experience, this natural learning of just giving them books, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and allowing them to enjoy learning. And so when I saw that, I said, that's what I'm going to do, because I love academics. I love to learn. I love to study. And so I said, I know I can do a better job than anyone else can, because I know my children better than anyone else. I know, I studied their learning styles and who needed to learn with their hands, who needed to learn with their ears or with their eyes, auditory or visual, kinesthetic. And I studied all that, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. So we took it year by year with the homeschooling to see how things were going. And my children, because of the way I taught math, when they were in the 7th grade, they would test into the 11th or 12th grade. Like even my oldest, he went for SATs and ACTs, and he came back and he said, Mom, there was so much there was math on there I didn't know or I didn't recognize, but because I understand numbers and I understand how they work, I could figure out the problems. And he ended up with very high scores. Several of them did, and he had a full ride to Howard University, 50% scholarship to NYU, and he got into Johns Hopkins, 50% scholarship. And we are very musical. I gave them instruments. I gave them sports. They had youth group at the church, and several of them play 5 instruments. And so I wanted to give them all of this. How did I do this? When I say I was a principal, I mean I was a principal of our school. If I was married, my ex-husband would have been the principal, but I was as a homeschooler, you name yourself as the principal, and I was the principal and the teacher. So I would wake up at 6 a.m, and my day didn't end till 10 at night. We had a routine everybody got up at 6, everybody had chores. Then we had Bible study, and we would sing songs, and we would start the school day. And then later on, I would take them to we had scholarships to the Rhode Island Philharmonic Music School, with both performance-based and need-based. And I would apply for everything I could for assistance. To my ex-husband's credit, he believed I was doing a great job. We were both very dedicated to our children. Even though he moved away, he supported us financially for many, many years. Sometimes it was a battle to get the money from him, but he was very generous. At the end of the day, that was the thing he was always good at, was providing. He provided. I did work part-time, very part-time. I was doing promotional work. I could just make my own hours, 4 hours here and there for a wine distributor. and just doing big events and things and talking to people. But my life was about the family. It always was. My devotion was to, when I had a husband, to my husband and to my children. Everything was about them, and I gave everything. But as I said, I had no help. I did not know you could hire a cleaning person. In my generation, we don't do that. You do everything yourself. I would spend 4 hours on a Saturday afternoon cutting all the boys' hair. I would stand there cutting 6 boys' hair. I had 6 boys and 2 girls, and I would cut all their hair because I was not going to spend that money at the hair salon. We didn't go out to movies because firstly we had to read the book first, and then you can watch the movie, but we'd do it at home. We would have Friday night family night and Sunday morning church, and everything was about them. But because I was all alone, I made so many mistakes with my family, too many to count. And I had to learn everything on my own. I had to learn, how do you soothe the baby? How do you breastfeed? How do you get more milk? I was reading, The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding by La Leche League and Mastering Motherhood. I was calling the doctor every day of the week to pick the nurse's brains because my children had asthma and allergies. And eventually I learned how to use nutrition to heal them. And at one point we built a house to help their health with hardwood floors and air purification. Both parents were deeply devoted to the children, even though he did live far away. But he was abusive, very, very abusive when he was with us, and very unfaithful to me. And so, I eventually had to. I was either all in or all out. And when I was all out, I was all out. And since that, I've come a very long way in healing. I've gone through trauma therapy and all kinds of great things through Duke University to learn about all this stuff. But because I was alone, I had no help. Like I was saying, I didn't know you could hire cleaning people. I didn't know, I feel as though my ex-husband should have said, hey, I'm going to get someone over there to help you guys. I'm going to pay someone. Anybody who wanted to help wanted to do it for me. They did not want to come along my side and help me.
And you're right. And that is, I think, the one thing that I love from this interview. And one of the reasons why you were mentioning, you learned about nutrition and about healing. So you had to go through some lessons and then you went to therapy. I feel that a lot of women, just like you said, you didn't know that you can hire someone, or I didn't know that there's people like you, right? I'm learning things. And I think most of the women, like I said, live in this, maybe in a fear, and they're afraid to ask. They're afraid to just say, I really need help right now. And I'm mentally not okay, emotionally not okay. And either it's pride, right? Not everyone maybe goes to church. Not everyone believes in that. So if you're watching this episode and if you're going through a hard time, just connect with me and I will ask Heather. I will ask all of the women and all of the people that I know. So I know exactly how we can actually help, genuinely help. Like Heather said, not just, okay, I'm going to, someone can clean your house if that's what you need, if you have the funds to pay. Maybe you're lacking, you don't have a job. I was actually talking to a client yesterday and she was sharing exactly, some of the things that you're describing, how she's like, she just had a baby as well. And she has 2 boys now. But, mom is very far away. There's a lot of things happening hormonally with us, right? Especially after 40. We don't know how to handle certain things. The husbands don't necessarily know more than, some men, unless they're trained. And so the fact that she actually hired me as her life coach to talk to me, to open up, to make sure that she has someone that she can connect with and help her vibrationally and help her with her energy, with her confidence to move on in a different direction in her life. it's amazing. It's a blessing. She actually said, I was afraid, because sometimes you're afraid to just be vulnerable, to say now what you just told me, about you, about your life, about how you woke up at 6, went to bed, spent 4 hours cutting the children's hair, and all of this. I mean, it's so hard. This is so hard. This is so hard without having a partner. What happened when you were sick? And he is now, because you believe in God. And what happened though is at the end of it, and where you are right now, had it not been like that until now, you wouldn't be who you are, the Heather that you are right now, the amazing human being, the woman that is here on the other side of this interview, giving back to so many people. And I know for a fact that, knowing that, you do so much more, I know for a fact I will be sending my client your way. Say, hey, can you just call Heather? Maybe if you ever need someone, like you said, in the house, just you can leave the kids by themselves and take your husband and go for half of the day. Do something. Maybe go for the day. They're going to be okay. Those children are going to be okay. So do you think, because this is usually I ask specific questions, but this is it's going to go a little bit different, just because I feel that a lot of women might need this. So why do you think women struggle so much in silence?
Well, I think one of the roots of that is the way our society is today. 100 years ago or so, women were home raising their children. The family was nearby. The aunts, the uncles, the sisters, they were maybe out on farms, and all the homes were spread out, but they were home, and they knew they had neighbors who could help them, who could encourage them, who could support them. Now, women are working. Everybody's gone. So you've got this even the grandparents. The grandparents might be working, or if they're not, they're traveling, or they're doing cruises, or they live far away, or they've passed away. So we've got this woman who has this baby, and she's all alone in her silence. And everybody goes through a little bit of postpartum depression right after the baby. It's hormonal. It happens about 3 days after. And it's kind of like you feel like the day after Christmas. You go through the baby. It's called not even postpartum depression. I'm sorry. I backtrack. It's called baby blues. You have a little bit of tears, a little bit of sadness. It lasts a few days. But if a woman is all alone trying to do this all by herself, she has nobody. She maybe doesn't have the finances, or she does have the finances, but she doesn't know there's anyone out there to help her. The blues, if they continue on, turn into postpartum depression. Postpartum depression can actually turn into psychosis. And I had this happen with a friend. I had to, my daughter and I, right when I became a doula, before I had a business, we ran up to Rhode Island to help a friend. Her husband called me desperately saying she's had her second child now. She's punching the walls. The baby won't stop crying. We don't know what to do. Please help. And her mother had passed away when she was 13. Her twin sister lived many states away. Her husband was a very kind of a harsh person, and she had no one. And we drove up there and realized that because of her stress and her emotions and her anxiety, she wasn't producing milk. And I gave the baby a bottle of formula, and for the first time the baby slept for 5 hours in 3 days. The first time the baby had slept. And I would sit there, the baby was starving, and then I put her to bed. Because 85% of postpartum depression is caused by lack of sleep. So, and honestly, Elijah in the Bible, he was being persecuted by King Ahab and his wife, and he was running in the desert, and he got out in the desert, and he was suicidal. And what did God do for him? He put him to sleep and woke him up and fed him. Put him to sleep and woke him up and fed him for 3 days. When you are depressed, the first thing you need is rest. And so my friend, I put her to sleep. I said, you need to get in bed. We are going to do everything for you, my daughter and I. We are going to do the dishes, the meals, the laundry, the baby, everything. We're going to bring the baby to you for you to feed. And this is going to build your milk supply. I'm going to get you a mother's milk tea so that you can drink that. It has herbs in it. I'm going to feed you good nutrition. And I'm going to encourage you and uplift you. And I would sit up with her in the middle of the night and she would just stare out into nowhere. So I sought help. I got a doctor involved. I took her to a local, it was a hospital system. And we all met together, me, the doctors, 2 doctors, a therapist, my client, or she wasn't my client, my friend. And they put her on medication and it was needed. She could do it while breastfeeding. And she eventually healed, and now it's been 15 years, and her children are doing beautifully. And this was a woman who was the director of human resources for a large university. And she didn't, and when you're in that place, you don't even know you need help. You don't know. And so somebody needs to see, a caring husband.
That's the secret right there. Someone, if it's not a husband, a friend, that a real friend that goes, you need help. You do need help. And I was actually at an event this morning, and it was something beautiful for women as well. And they were talking about how, whenever you are in a state or you're very stressed, and, corporations, right? Like there's all these amazing women that do so much, and I'm running a real estate company as well. So I completely get the stress that can happen through running businesses. But what they were saying is that a lot of women and a lot of these corporations don't have enough support for the women, as in, hey, let's paint something. Let's do some meditation. Here's some music. Duke, for example, Duke Hospital, they have a whole art center, right? Where, as a patient, you go, you may paint, you might dance, you might listen to music. They incorporate a little bit more of that, but asking for help as an employee, as a woman, like you said, you can be an HR department president, you can be a CEO, a CFO, whatever. It doesn't really matter, because living in this consistent state of fear, of not asking, of being ashamed, or it's just detrimental to you, to your family. And thank God that there's people like you. So ultimately, I think the big aha again for me interviewing you is making sure that, first of all, there's resources all over the place. You gotta ask. You need to be able to stand in your power. And if you have any sort of need for support, right, from other women, from organizations, from anyone out there, just ask for it. Ask for it, and don't let more years and more years pass by, because, like you said, it can turn into depression. It can turn into psychosis. It can turn into you needing a lot of medication. And from there, you can just go down the hill. What I think could be healed. Maybe there's energy blocks that can be addressed. Maybe, nutrition, sleep. That's a beautiful example that you gave from the Bible. I have no clue about that. All of these things are sometimes simple things, but overall, a lot of women are very successful on the outside, and inside, it's rough. It is rough. And another thing that I liked about what you said was how it was just not only 100 years ago. It was like, tribal times. The tribe was together. They were there with their children. It was all a family. Men going hunting, women were there supporting the child. Yes, and that's what's missing, I feel. Like, a lot of people are kind of together, but like you said, moms work, they come home at 6 o'clock, they need to make dinner, laundry, all of that. They don't have power or time to go out for dates or anything, as a matter of fact. And then social media. that your children didn't have at that point. And you know what else I really loved? You said something about how, raising children and letting them do what they want to do. Very interesting. My son this morning, I was taking him to school and he said, Mom, what is that school type called where you're just let to do whatever you want to do? And I said, Montessori? He said, yeah, I would love, he said, to just be in a school where I could just learn. And I said, what would you do the whole day? And he said, well, probably I'll be on my computer. He's a big soccer player. He likes reading. But he doesn't like the structure of having to sit down for an hour when he finishes the work. And so I am actually really reconsidering what I am going to do with him. He's third grade. And I do think that what you said came as a great sign for me, especially after what he said, to really be aware of what the next step for him is going to be. So anyone watching this episode, if you don't have to be a mom per se, right? This is not about necessarily only moms. This is about any woman out there that is struggling, or if you have a sister, or if you have, anyone in your family struggling with anything, please feel free to connect. If I cannot help you as a life coach, if Heather cannot help you as a, mommy mentor, you can still connect with us and we can put you in touch with someone that can help. Like she said, she helped her friend with the doctor, with some sort of anything, anything that you need, please connect with us. And
can I add just a few more things? Would that be just quickly? I want to say what you said, just connect with us, that I have a lot of resources. I always tell my clients, if I don't have the answer to your question, I will find the answer. I will find somebody who knows. I will do my research. And another thing, the way I teach and mentor my people, my clients, even my contractors, is honestly through my mistakes, through all the mistakes I made all those years with my children. That's how I teach. And I love what you said about how if I hadn't suffered through all the years that I suffered, and even my children suffered with all my imperfections as a single parent, I heard on Focus on the Family once, Dr. Dobson, as a single parent, even if you are perfect, you are still 50% of what your children need, because you're only one person. You can only be one person. And that's where God comes in. That's where his grace comes in. That's where he upheld me all those years. But I was so imperfect for these kids. And so now I teach my families from all my mistakes. But two other things I want to speak to is that one, I want to say something about your son and what you said with the education, but I don't want to forget about that. But you say, why also do people not reach out for help? Sometimes it's also a matter of fear, because it, like you said, there's pride, there are all those things, but it's also fear sometimes, because people will come in and they don't want to help you. They want to take over for you. And I had that happen to me many times, and that's not supportive. You don't come in and take over. I go into a mom's home, my contractors go in, we come along their side and we meet them where they are. And we study them, we learn them. I get to know the mom. What's her personality like? How much can she handle? How much should I tell her? How much shouldn't I tell her? And I support them as parents. I tell them when I go in their home, you're in charge. I'm not in charge here. Just because I say something should be the way that this is, you have the final say. You're the parents. You're your children's umbrella of protection. I don't want to come in here and take over for you. I want to uplift you so you can learn how to be what your family needs, and to give you a break as well. And as far as your son's education, when you said he doesn't want to sit behind a desk, there are 3 types of learners: visual, auditory, and then kinesthetic, which is learning with your hands. putting a kinesthetic learner, which is which is usually our ADHD kids, a kinesthetic learner, putting him behind a desk all day is like blindfolding a visual learner. They can't handle it. They need to. Like I said, I would study my kids. If one of them was into cooking from the age of 2, he wanted to be a chef and also an artist. So part of his schooling was reading cookbooks, was watching the high-end cooking shows on PBS way back then. And another one wanted to be a pilot, and then the musicians, and whatever they wanted to be, I would encourage that in them. Yeah.
You said that you were so imperfect. Well, I personally think that you were awesome. Without, of course, you see yourself in certain ways, but I, as a life coach, see so much beauty in those imperfections in all of my clients, and I am a big believer in the fact that the way we speak to ourselves is very important. How much we care for ourselves as women, and it's not just woo woo, speak affirmations that you don't believe in, or look in the mirror and say I'm pretty, I'm beautiful. It's not about that. It is about the fact that every struggle is a lesson, and God, which you believe in, or the force, the source, the universe, never sees us as being imperfect. And I think that, you're using the word, I understand exactly what you're saying, because you made mistakes, and of course you learn through your mistakes, and that's how you give back. Of course, this is the best way. Life teaches you. I tell everyone, I had everything in Romania. I came here to become humble. I came here and I learned to do everything, because there I had the money, I had fame, I was a reputable actress, people knew me, and I decided to go on a different path, and I've decided to give back and to work my way up from zero in a different country. I was speaking English, but not the way I speak it now. So we went through all of this while my parents were like, why are you even doing this? We don't understand. You have everything you want. We didn't come here for the money. But nothing teaches you as life. Nothing. As struggle to be a mom, to breastfeed, to go through all these difficulties, to not have so many people to support you, to be there when you need anything, let alone to pee and poop. I'm sorry. I had hemorrhoids. Speaking about vulnerability, I was like, what the heck is this? I couldn't even stand up. Everything was hurting from head to I was calling Lolesh League. They were like, don't feed the baby. My mom in Romania was like, you gotta feed the baby. Don't let that baby. And I'm like, but they're telling me that my milk is not gonna come. And she was like, you gotta give the baby some milk. Or my child was screaming, and I was like, oh, what do I do now? So anyway, people go through so many things, but
yeah,
again, with your permission, I will say that you were brilliant in whatever you did. The brilliance of being imperfect, the brilliance of making mistakes, the brilliance of you standing up for your children, for doing all of these things, crazy, difficult things that you did, teaching them to be humans. Me, I am sorry, you have all of people should have, you should have a place in the government, like to empower people throughout the world. This is how I see you, like Mother Teresa, people that really give back, genuinely.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you also for being here on the show, and all of the information for all of you women that need empowerment and need to speak with someone is going to be there. Please connect with me, connect with Heather, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to understand that life is meant to be lived with joy and not in a consistent struggle. And you are the creator of your own reality. You are along with source, with God. You have it in your heart. So use it in your advantage. Ask for any help that you think you might need. We are here to empower all of you and all of your furry friends.
Yeah. And I want to add to your ending here that about imperfections, God talks about in the Bible how we are jars of clay. And the Lord works on us as jars of clay. We are as we are cracked pots. That's how He can create us and form us and make us and put us back together. There's nothing you can do with a perfect pot. It's perfect. It's there. And there is no perfect pot anyway. And so the Lord He loves to work on cracked, imperfect jars of clay is who we are.
Thank
people.
you so much, Heather.
Thank you so much, too.
Amazing woman. I appreciate.
So are you.
Appreciate your time.
Yes.
Mwah. I love you.
Mwah.
Say hi.
Bye, honey.
Bye.